Even though they were from a different world, their adopted home embraced these two lyricists with open arms. Their new home would also provide the perfect environment for them to make their musical dreams come true. However, from the start, the loyalty and respect between the two seemed to be one-sided and eventually ripped them apart. Let's find out what happened to British R&B duo Floetry. Natalie Stewart, known as the Floetist, and Marcia Ambrosius, known as the Songstress, came together to form the British R&B duo the world would come to know as Floetry in the late 90s. Natalie was born in Germany to Jamaican parents. Her family moved around a lot during her formative years, but that Jamaican influence remained constant. Liverpool-born Marcia had music pumped into her veins on both sides. Her father was in a band, and her mother was a singer in a girl group. She has fond memories of breaking out her mother's vinyls and listening to the likes of Sly and the Family Stone, Queen, and Duran Duran. Her father was also a basketball coach, and Marcia, naturally, developed a love for it as well. She credits her father's encouragement to play the game, helping her learn the fundamentals and discipline of teamwork. The girls first met as preteens on the basketball courts of London. Rivals at first, they quickly bonded over their love for music and poetry. One day, Marcia reached out to Natalie, who was in a performance poetry group called 3+1, about adding some poetry to a song she was working on. Natalie obliged, and that song, called Fantasize, would get such a great reception when they performed it, they knew they had something special. Several years later, in 2000, with full support from their families, they both moved across the pond to the US, first landing in Atlanta, but later settling in Philadelphia. Planning their roots in Philly was a surprise blessing. The duo got an invitation from a promoter to come out and perform at an open mic event, after a friend of Marcia's played their demo tape for him. After walking into the venue and seeing wall-to-wall hip-hop and R&B icons such as The Roots, Common, Musiq Soulchild, Erykah Badu, Bilal, and Jill Scott there, they knew they never wanted to leave. Their debut album, titled Floetic, was released in 2002. It was recorded in just 7 days and entered the music scene at the height of the neo-soul sound movement. It spawned 3 singles, including their biggest hit to date, Say Yes.
All you gotta do is say yes. Don't deny what you feel.
The track peaked at number 24 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 8 on the R&B chart. 1 year later, they dropped the live studio album, Flowicism. Their third and what would be their final album, Flowology, was released in November 2005. It included the single Superstar, featuring rapper Common. Shortly after the hype over the album died down, Floetry would be no more. In a 2017 interview with New York's Power 105.1 radio station morning show, The Breakfast Club, Marcia spoke about the contributing factors that led to the split that had to do with issues going on in Natalie's personal life. Allegedly, she was in an abusive relationship. Things became so volatile that at one point she didn't want to live anymore. However, she urged Marcia not to say anything to her family and friends. Natalie's relationship issues then spilled over into the business when she began having issues with management and elected to place her boyfriend in that role. He demanded a solo deal on Natalie's behalf and said she would walk if she didn't get it. The label didn't budge. Another issue was Natalie's belief that their manager really wanted Marcia to go solo and blackballed her in the US when she found herself not able to book gigs. Natalie's pettiness also took center stage earlier in their career when she was choosing a manager. She selected someone that had been a mutual friend of the duo. However, things between Marcia and this individual had become intimate and resulted in a pregnancy and eventual miscarriage. Natalie was well aware of all of this and clearly wasn't concerned about the conflict of interest. She even went as far as sharing with Marcia that she too had a miscarriage, that Marcia later found out was a lie. Another more obvious and simplistic reason that Marcia alluded to in her TV One Uncensored episode in April 2021 was Natalie's inability to handle Marcia's individual success. Natalie's side of the story, not surprisingly, is quite different. In a 2013 interview with UK newspaper The Voice, she maintains that things fell apart as a result of management's desire for the duo to cross over and branch out into more mainstream music. Her refusal to do so, she believes, was what pushed her and Marsha apart. After Floetic hit the streets, everyone wanted to know who these two young but incredibly talented and soulful artists from the UK were. Marsha started getting a lot of attention and requests from other artists to sing, write, and produce material for them. FYI, the King of Pop's 2002 hit Butterflies was written by Marsha. Right after the split, Marsha joined forces with singer-actress Amanda Seales, known at the time as Amanda Diva, to make Floetry a twosome again. Their union didn't last long, and that was probably a good thing since the energy between them was so off that they almost came to blows. Natalie released her debut solo album in 2010 titled Floetic Soul. Her second album, titled Floetry Rebirth, would follow 2 years later. Around this time, she would also marry her longtime boyfriend and producer, Nolan Weeks. Marsha went on to release a mixtape several years before her debut solo album dropped in 2011 titled Late Nights and Early Mornings. It features tracks penned by Alicia Keys and Lauryn Hill. 2014 would be a big year for both ladies. Natalie released her third album titled Rise of the Phoenix Mermaid, and Marsha released her second album titled Friends and Lovers. At the end of that year, they finally reunited during a concert of Marsha's and performed together. Soon after, Marsha would confirm that the duo would be touring and recording a new album. Their reunion lasted for 2 years. However, another split was on the horizon and would happen on the second leg of the tour in August 2016. In the same Breakfast Club interview, Marsha let it rip about what really happened during the tour that left a permanent bad taste in her mouth about Natalie. She revealed that during the first year of the tour, when she met and was getting intimately acquainted with their tour bus driver, Des Phillips, she overheard Natalie co-sign disparaging comments centered around Marsha's past sexual escapades, and also made inquiries as to when Des was going to become the next notch on her belt. Those comments came from some of the men in their camp via a voice note to Des's phone. However, Marsha heard them loud and clear. She chalked it up to boys being boys engaging in typical locker room talk, but when she heard Natalie chime in agreement, it cut like a knife. However, it was Natalie's behavior during the second year that really solidified that their partnership and friendship was over for good. During the first week of the tour, Marsha found out that she was pregnant. After several more weeks had passed, she finally revealed everything to Natalie, who didn't appear to be very excited at all. Then, to add insult to injury, Natalie continued to smoke ganja on the tour bus, which Marsha didn't appreciate. It was then that Marsha realized that her loyal-to-a-fault approach to their relationship was hurting her. It was finally starting to register that Natalie never really was the friend that Marsha wanted her to be, and maybe never would be. Natalie married for the second time to former drummer for English rock band The Stone Roses, Robbie Maddox, in 2017. In 2020, they debuted their husband and wife supergroup called I&I. Marsha and Des welcomed a daughter in 2016 and married the following year. Her latest project, her third solo album titled Nyla, which is also her daughter's name, was released in September 2018. Throughout 2020, Marsha spent her time working on what she thought would be a quarantine EP. She says that all her loved ones that she played it for think it's her best work yet. Hopefully, fans will get to hear it too very soon. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and comment. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on your notifications so you won't miss any future videos. See you next time!